I'm a member of the EllenBrook Area Residents Association. We have gathered a petition with 1,132 signatures from local residents in support of the park to protest against any development on the land. The country park was promised as a valuable leisure amenity, a unique recreational resource for local residents, and to preserve the green belt cap between Hatfield and St Albans under Section 106 agreement back in 2000, when planning permission for the old AERODROME site was approved. We have been campaigning ever since to get it implemented. We strongly believe that the relevant parties responsible for setting up in Section 106 should follow through with their promises and legal obligations before any further planning proposals are considered. Since this petition was gathered as part of the quarry application, there is now a recommendation from HCC Planning to remove the Section 106 deed of variation as a quarry pre-planning approval condition. This is despite the 4 local councils raising their objection to removing the only leverage that the councils have to enforcing the Section 106. We understand from an email seen last night that Arlington sent a draft Section 106 proposal. Firstly, this is too late for proper scrutiny. Secondly, it understands it's not approved by the Arlington Board. And thirdly, it appears that they propose to establish a trust within 8 weeks of receiving consent to quarry. Isn't this the wrong way round? The trust should come before consent, not as a condition of it. This is putting pressure on HCC to agree with the application. What if consent is refused? What happens in Section 106 then? The Section 106 must be set up before any planning consent is considered. If the quarry and HAT2 go ahead, these combined developments would have, for at least the next 30 years, leave only 10% of the least desirable area of the park untouched. Although it's claimed that the area will be accessible to the public during quarry, we would question who would want to run a water cycle next to a quarry pit through the silica dust and other pollutants the quarry processing will put into the air. The park may effectively be available but no longer desirable. As you'll be aware, residents are also extremely concerned that the bromate site has bromate pollution, that the quarry site has bromate pollution on or nearby. Bromate is a known carcinogen, and this bromate plume is as a result of the worst bromate contamination event in Europe. EllenBrook Residents Association and the 4 local councils are calling for an independent investigation to be undertaken by experts qualified in the field of bromate contamination to fully assess and understand the potential impact of quarrying on land so close to bromate pollution. We recognise that the Environment Agency are remediating the visual spillage, but no research has been carried out to investigate exactly what may happen when quarrying takes place in the lower mineral horizon. This quarrying operation is completely different from works at neighbouring quarries where they only extract gravel and sand from the upper mineral horizon and do not disturb the delicate nature of the lower mineral horizons and chalk aquifers. It is clear that without an independent investigation into how the quarrying operation may affect bromate plume, we will not know with any degree of confidence whether this high-risk operation will cause the plume to be drawn into the dig site, or indeed already lies under the quarry site as indicated by widespread bromide pollution. The decision before councillors today about EllenBrook Country Park is based on risk management. Nobody, including the Environment Agency, fully understands how the bromate plume might spread. The EA have chosen to attempt to mitigate the risk posed by setting numerous conditions. However, the EA remediation plan for the original spillage at Sandridge has failed to eradicate bromate plume while stopping it from spreading right across Hertfordshire. Once the site is polluted, it is too late. Residents are also concerned about potential risk to our drinking water if the quarry disturbs bromate and renders the water source unusable, at a time when we are being warned by Affinity Water and the Environment Agency about the national threat to water supplies. Residents believe the cumulative impact on the local infrastructure has not been fairly assessed and the independent information ignored. The A414 corridor consultation report clearly states that the A1057 is at or exceeding capacity. We can ask you to fulfill the promise made 19 years ago to establish the EllenBrook Park Preservation Trust and grant the lease for 125 years for the whole 425 acres of land to form EllenBrook Country Park. We therefore ask councillors to acknowledge the risks associated with bromate plume, to stop any development of the land and to get the Section 106 set up straight away and protect our precious country park for generations to come. If the quarry disturbs the plume and the digging stops, the mineral plan will be jeopardised and we will have no country park, effectively a white elephant. The area will remain a partially excavated site until the bromate is dealt with, potentially for decades. We will never see a country park, merely an abandoned quarry. Thank you.
And I'm very grateful to the committee for allowing me to this time slot. I'm Paul Harding, here to represent David and Victoria Jackson, the owners of Popefield Farm. They're travelling abroad, very frustrated to be missing this meeting. I'll do my best on their behalf. Popefield Farm intrudes into the application site from the HATFIELD road. It's unfortunately located at the very fulcrum of the extraction plan, meaning that it will feel the full effects of the operations for the next 30 years. The current owners have sympathetically renovated the 17th century Grade 2 listed property, and it's now home to 4 families as well as successful businesses. With due consideration, the protection to the property and its residents is not provided, it will lose its occupiers, and in so doing the funding to keep it maintained. Now, as with other speakers I'm sure today, the Jacksons' true desire will be that this whole excavation plan should not go ahead. And the thought of excavating something in the order of 4 times the scale of the Great Pyramids and all of the chaos and traffic and noise that we've heard, problems with water would ensue. But that said, I'm addressing today more specific points related to their property. That despite its location and historic importance, it and its owners' views have been given very scant attention throughout the massive documents that you've been provided with. But we did have a meeting with Shane Dempster in July, and we're pleased that he is committed to provide you a copy of Jackson's letter of the 19th of July, which sets out a summary of the discussions and what they believe needs to be undertaken to protect Popefield. We focused at that meeting on 2 aspects. Firstly, the practical steps that need to be taken to preserve the listed Popefield Farm, its buildings and settings, and secondly, the importance of setting up the EllenBrook Trust. In terms of the first aspect, the key points which we'd like you to understand and seek your acceptance of today is an extended standoff zone around Popefield to protect the listed building and its setting. To monitor from the start the groundwater conditions, noise levels, and air pollution, and in particular the groundwater, given that the property is half timber, half brick construction dating back to the 17th century and extremely vulnerable. We seek permanent bunds to be constructed from the start so they become part of the long-term landscaping scheme rather than just being taken away and new landscaping put in later. And the landscaping plan as proposed to be implemented around Popefield, including the orchard and lanes, and due consideration to be given to security and managing the public access. And finally, an effective liaison group set up immediately, which the Jacksons can be a part of, and will be given access to the monitoring data, and whose voice will be heard and heeded by the owners and operators. The other part of our discussion was on the EllenBrook Trust, and we are appalled that the officers are recommending that planning permission for the extraction can be decoupled from the application. It seems extraordinary that after so many years of negotiations and threats from the council to make the owners sign the trust documents, your officers have decided the 2 matters are not linked, and they can leave it to the local authorities to do that. This, we feel, is a complete cop-out and gives away the council's key negotiating position to enforce the developer to sign a document they committed to with the Section 106 agreement nearly 20 years ago. So we strongly express the view that setting up of the trust is of fundamental importance, not only to show good faith by the landowner, but also an important check and balance for the phased restoration and through the trustees, a focus of communication for joining owners and interested parties. So in summary, the Jacksons simply seek to have Popefield Farm taken seriously by the council, landowners and operators. It will be blighted for 30 years while extraction takes place, but if the points made today are actions, these can be mitigated to a degree, the protection of Popefield Farm, given and a chance for quiet enjoyment for its residents. So, in summary, an extended standoff zone, transparent monitoring of water, air and noise, permanent balance, an active liaison group, and finally, days before planning permission is granted, we'd urge the members to instruct their officers, and if I misquote a recent oft-used phrase, get the EllenBrook Trust done. No ifs, no buts, no maybes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you on behalf of the Jackson.
Thank you very much.
He mentioned 125 micrograms as being the bromate level.
Sorry, Mr. Jackson.
He mentioned the wrong level. It should be the World Health Organisation is 10 micrograms per litre, not 125, as you said. What he said was the bromate. Would you believe? Would you?
I think we will set that. Mr. Jackson, we'll have a discussion about that, I'm sure, later.
I just wanted to make sure that it was.
But if you'd like to sit down and make your presentation, and you have 5 minutes on the presentation, you may then ask questions afterwards.
Can I ask the members to look at the front of their packs about 10 pages? There's 2 maps, and I'll be referring to those maps. If you could have them open, it would be helpful for you to understand.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Good morning. I represent the views of EllenBrook, Smallford and Salisbury village residents. The Environment Agency has said that they have never taken or done any analysis of the bromate or bromide samples themselves from within the application site. And they do not know why the bromate and bromide figures in the recent data supplied are excessive. The data, which was 10 months out of date, February 19, when seasonally the lowest concentrations are historically found, lacked borehole information and contained errors and omissions we have reported at. You cannot allow the groundwater source to be put at risk solely on information from those with a vested interest in this application being granted. The whole application is reviewed by an independent expert. The Environmental Agency's letter dated 28th of August indicates the levels that we just mentioned. 125 micrograms per litre of bromide and at or above 0.5 micrograms of bromate. And also the letter talks about the correlation between bromide and bromate. Analysing the applicant's recent release data, we've discovered the following. Please look at the first map, which is in relation to bromide. You can see only 3 boreholes circled green on the entire periphery of the site that are not currently exceeding these levels. You can see extremely high levels, the red circles, on the border of the application site. You can see number 3 in red on the edge of the dig site itself with 1,049 micrograms per litre, some 8.5 times higher than the marker level. You can see also number 7 and 19 circled yellow in the centre of the dig site, which has high levels above the limit. And the other boreholes around the entire periphery all are in excess of the bromide limits. With no boreholes between numbers 3 and 17, and therefore no readings, one can only assume that the readings there would be between 8.5 and 1.5 times higher than the level set. On the map is the blue line, just below number 3, and that indicates the dig zone. This is a line on the map. It is not a barrier to the flow of the pollution. Now please turn to the next map, map 2, which is about bromide, which doesn't occur naturally in the water. You can see the darker coloured circles which show readings above 2 micrograms per litre, which is, and above, which is between 4 and 1,000 times the plume indicator level. Some boreholes have no recent data, significantly number 7, actually in the dig zone. Looking back at the previous map, you can see that one has hyperomite levels, and with the correlation, we cannot understand why no current data available will be bromate in that borehole. Looking at both maps, number 2 is situated in the bottom left-hand corner between the application and dig zones. Both maps show levels exceeding the limits, and therefore, according to the EA, should be taken as being inside the plume. We don't understand why it does not. The EA has done no investigation, they've told us, into the reasons for these figures, so we cannot rule out the presence of the plume being present there. You can see from these maps there is a lack of actual boreholes and data within the dig site. No data is not an indicator of no bromide or pollution. From these figures, it indicates the plume should be accepted as being present. Therefore, using the EA's own red lines, digging should not be allowed inside the plume. Surely, alarm bells should be ringing. With such high levels of bromide and bromate in the periphery of the dig site, and it's widely accepted that plume is very difficult to predict, or even model its movements. It's not known how the plume will develop in the future. It's believed to flow in discrete fractures, not straight lines as is depicted on the maps. So it could be anywhere within the dig site without checking. The Environment Agency's assertion that to do more work would place an unreasonable burden on developers is outrageous. Bengio is dismissed through concerns over groundwater pollution, and they're not affected by the plume. How can it be to agree this application with so much doubt about the effects of the quarry and the potential disruption for decades, if not centuries, to the water supply? We do not believe that the positive aspects outweigh the loss of the green belt and risk of disturbing the plume. When alternative sites with greater yield in the draft mineral plan are available without the risk associated here. And all those aspects that Mr. Dempster mentioned, we would have already if the country partner's promise would have been instigated 19 years ago. The committee, we ask, please insist that Section 106 is implemented and this application is dismissed. I could not cover all our concerns today, however some are covered in the officer's report, along with our submission circulated for today, both of which you have in front of you. We stand by all these objections and ask that you refuse this application. One spectacular miss is the new Section 106, which ignores the worst junction on the A107 and the most dangerous being Bramble Road. No consideration of that to take them.
Yes, thank you very much.
I speak as one of the Welling Hatfield councillors within whose ward a significant part of the application site is situated. I spoke against this application back in January 2017 when it first came to this committee. In the latest officers' report on pages 7 and 8, you'll see the serious concerns raised by Welling Hatfield Borough Council, as well as similar concerns raised by St Albans. They're on pages 8 and 9. These are the two authorities with public health responsibilities for the affected area, so our concerns do need to be taken seriously. Unfortunately, while these concerns of the two authorities have been documented in the report faithfully enough, I don't believe they've actually been addressed. It's not right to decouple the original Section 106 provision related to the establishment of the EllenBrook Park Trust. As I say, I was at the meeting of this committee in January 2017 when the condition was imposed, as it seemed like 2 years ago. And it was clearly an integral part of the decision made to grant permission. If you decouple now, then surely this undermines public confidence in the whole planning process. What other aspects of that decision 3 years ago might be revisited? Or indeed, how much trust can we put in any conditions that are proposed now? Welling Hatfield Borough Council has in its response asked for an independent study on the dangers of bromate and bromide contamination, yet this doesn't seem to have been addressed in the officer's report. The Environment Agency has stressed the need for a detailed water management plan, but it does seem to be very dangerous to determine the application prior to this being available. As I understand it, there's not yet an agreed remediation plan for the contamination. The first one didn't really work and Plan B has been appealed, so we don't have a remediation plan yet. Until there is a remediation plan, it's rather dangerous to give permission for quarry because we don't know whether or not it will jeopardise the remediation if we don't know what the remediation plan is. If you approve this application today, I believe you run the risk of creating a momentum in favour of quarrying prior to crucial information being available to you. But this could all too easily box us into a corner and lead to a flawed outcome. Now, the county's draft minerals local plan envisages that all three preferred sites for mineral extraction for the whole county are concentrated in this part of Hatfield. As noted in Wayne Hatfield's response, this will lead to considerable cumulative impact on HGV movements, which together, those three sites, including this one, will have up to 420 movements per day on the A1057. That's one every 1.5 minutes during operational hours. The percentages there were based on an increase in vehicles. Well, my Ford Focus is a vehicle, but one of these agri trucks is a good number of times bigger. Now, this is in direct conflict with the county's own draft A414 corridor strategy. Page 16 of segment 7, I'm sure you will read this, it's a big document. Of that document, envisages that greater priority should be given to the local functions of the A1057, and it actually states that additional capacity on that road may not be desirable. No mention is made in that document of increased quarry-related HGV use. So if you approve this application today without understanding the cumulative impact of all three sites, and how this will conflict with this strategy, which is to great extent no doubt, we could again box ourselves into a corner. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that you'll be taking too great a risk today to approve this application. I very strongly recommend that it be reviewed or at the very least deferred until, firstly, the EllenBrook Park Trust is established. Once established, then decoupling happens as ever before. Secondly, the potential impact upon the environmental contamination and its remediation is better understood. And lastly, the conflict between the cumulative impact of HGV movements on the A1057 implied by the draft minerals local plan, which includes this application, and the draft A414 corridor strategy is resolved. Thank you for your attention.
We now have our final speaker in opposition to the application, Mr. Craig Tallants from the Smallford Residents Association. Mr. Tallants, you also have 5 minutes, but you may be asked questions afterwards.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard, or indeed you will hear today, a lot about traffic, pollution, water and contamination. I don't want to talk in detail about these. I want to focus on the legacy of the decision you make today. But before I talk about today, I want to go back some 20 years and talk about the legacy that was meant to be when permission was given to develop the Hatfield AERODROME site. That legacy was enshrined in the Section 106 agreement, entered into by all parties concerned, a legally binding agreement. The Section 106 talked about the country park and the establishment of a trust to run it, and a monetary contribution to help it. As you know, to date, none of these have been delivered. What sort of legacy is that? Well, let me tell you. One whereby our elected representatives have failed us. One whereby the landowner is laughing at you. One whereby the legal enforceability of Section 106 agreements will be called into question and disregarded by developers, citing this case. One whereby residents have no faith in our local politicians to deliver and look after them. To illustrate the cynicism of the landowner, yesterday a letter was served. I'm not sure you have it, to be presented before this committee to vary the rights of the original Section 106 agreement to allow housing on part of the site. There is no doubt that these houses will be built on the plume. This letter reveals that board approval is still required for the Section 106. Why? This is a signed legal agreement. It just shows their contempt for us and our system. Let me move on to nearly 2 years ago, when this matter last appeared before you. Then you granted permission subject to a number of conditions being fulfilled, including, and indeed not least, the establishment of the trust to manage the park. This was to be completed within 12 months or the permission lapsed. As you know, this condition has not been fulfilled, and indeed your legacy is again failure to implement your own wishes. Once again, the landowner has not come to the table and sorted this out so we can all move on. The landowner has had the cheek to ignore the Section 106 for the second time. They will blame the councils. But if they were committed, why have they not paid the money over? And why are they here again in the knowledge that they have not delivered? Indeed, we've just heard the officer talk about a new Section 106 agreement. Indeed, had they delivered, we would not be here today, and the issue of the trust would be irrelevant. But we are here, and the issue of the bromine plume is now the major concern. Now you are asked to make a decision and leave your own legacy for this site. But before I talk about this site, let us look at the site identified in the mineral plan at Bengio and dismissed due to the threat of contamination. The threat of contamination. Well, at Hatfield we have contamination. The worst site of water contamination in Western Europe, yet here we are discussing a quarry. So let's think about the legacy of a new quarry. It's interesting, isn't it, that Cemex who quarry all around this site were not interested in the airfield, and indeed only quarry the upper mineral horizon, as they are worried about disturbing the blue. It's interesting that the maps being used in this application are out of date and do not show houses that were built some 2 years ago. It's interesting that the borehole data is out of date, misleading and incomplete. It's interesting the reports are not independent but those of the applicants. It's interesting that no account has been made of the cumulative impact of all the quarries in the area and the pollution and sustainability of them. Having all the quarries in this 5-mile radius of the county for the next 20 or 30 years is hardly in keeping with the green agenda. So now we get to the key point of the legacy of your decision today: the water, the bromate, and the plume. Let me start by saying that we are certain that the bromate will not get into the water supply due to the actions of the water company to mitigate this. Indeed, we have seen the closing of wells gradually as the plume moves down the Lee Valley. But this is acknowledged by experts to be the largest water contamination problem in Western Europe. However, it was not until the mid-noughties that the wells were closed, and as you know, we are dealing with a carcinogen here. As such, people were drinking contaminated water. And once this is over, we will be demanding an inquiry into this, along with a study of the cancer rates in this area. If there is a spike, expect some action from us as a community seeking redress. As we shut down wells and the plume moves, the threat to the aquifer grows, and to the water supply for South East Hearts and indeed North London, millions of people. In an area of low rainfall and without national infrastructure to move water around, how will we get water? So today we make a decision that will have an impact on the lives of millions, not just the people of St Albans and Hatfield. A decision which, let's be honest, is a gamble and will not impact you. You take that decision on out-of-date and incomplete data. Are you betting men? In this time of a climate emergency, what will your legacy be? What will you be remembered for today? I hope that the future holds you in good regard.
I'm the Planning Director with Brett. Brett is the largest independent producer of sand and gravel in the UK, with over 110 years of trading. Our business is based on acting responsibly and delivering quality in everything we do. We have a good track record, which is acknowledged by the awards we have received in delivering quality quarry restoration projects across the South East. In particular, Brett has received the highest awards for generating country paths and areas of public access at locations in Kent and Surrey. We would be very proud to be able to apply this experience to this part of the former Hatfield AERODROME and create an award-winning restoration project for the local community to enjoy. Brett operations are subject to regular audits as part of this accreditation to various externally recognised management standards, such as ISO 14001, Environmental Management, 18001, Health and Safety, 6001, Responsible Sourcing. This gives our customers, landowners and neighbours confidence that we take our safety, quality and environmental responsibilities seriously. The importance that minerals play in the economy is recognised by government. National policy states that minerals are essential to support sustainable economic growth and our quality of life. When determining planning applications, great weight should be given to the benefits of mineral extraction. Indeed, we cannot build houses, infrastructure, for example, without minerals. This has already been recognised by your council as the 8 million tonnes at Hatfield AERODROME is allocated in your minerals plan and forms an important part of it. This planning application was put before you in January 2017, and this committee voted in favour of granting planning permission, subject to planning conditions and a Section 106 legal agreement. I am pleased to report that the proposed Section 106 legal agreement has now been agreed and is ready for signature. The application before you has been the subject of widespread consultation and comment on 2 separate occasions. It has also been the subject of a high degree of scrutiny by interested parties. The proposed development has been refined and improved to take account of comments made to us both during this process, but also before the application was even submitted, when we carried out various community and stakeholder engagement sessions in the area. The development scheme before you has been designed to the highest environmental and operational standards, and is therefore the best possible scheme that could be presented for consideration whilst meeting the objectives of the Lincoln Plan. There are several key local concerns. The bromide plume. In 2010, Brett met with the Environment Agency to discuss this site with particular reference to any possible impact arising from the bromide plume. The agency made it clear from the outset that they would not support an application that compromised the remediation of the plume or which could cause the plume to migrate. Since that meeting, considerable research and investigation has been undertaken to understand the physical properties of the site and the extent and behaviour of the plume. After discussions with the agency, our proposed site was reduced in size so that it sits outside of the bromide plume. Groundwater investigations we have completed and our findings have been presented to and discussed with the agency. Water quality analysis has been undertaken by Affinity Water in their own labs. This isn't just a Brett scheme that is being presented. There has been an independent scrutiny of the scheme already by both the agency and Affinity Water. We have developed a comprehensive groundwater development plan and have consulted with the Environment Agency and Affinity Water on it. The feedback from both parties was included in the development of the final draft plan. This plan includes for ongoing monitoring and analysis as well as methods of working. It also includes for the reporting and sharing of data as well as regular review meetings with Hertfordshire County Council, Affinity Water and the Environment Agency. This plan will be submitted for the approval of the Council under the provisions of the proposed planning conditions, notably numbers 26 and 30, within 3 months of a permission being issued. Through the groundwater management plan, the method of working that would be employed avoids impact on the bromide plume. Fundamentally, this is to the satisfaction of both the Environment Agency and Affinity Water. The agency has also issued a landfill permit and water licenses for this scheme under separate legislation, giving further assurance that the agency is comfortable with the principle of this development. We understand the importance that residents place on the provision of the country park, and with the phased nature of the development, we would keep as much land open to the public as possible. At any one time, a large proportion of the application site will be available for use for public access, either as land waiting to be developed or land restored for public use and handed over to the EllenBrook Quarry Trust. There have been comments about the decoupling of Section 106. It has been demonstrated that trying to vary the original 106 made in 2000 concerning the establishment of the EllenBrook Park has not really worked. The Council has correctly sought legal advice on the enforceability of the original agreement. These obligations still stand, and the Council can enforce them should it wish to do so. The number of HGVs has also been picked up as a concern, and to put these into context, the increase we are proposing is only 2.5% of the overall HGV traffic on the highway in the peak hour, when the road is at its busiest, which the Council's highways officer states as minimal. Highways England similarly considers the level of traffic generated by the quarry to be acceptable and does not object. In terms of noise, assessments have shown that the development can be undertaken and comply with the relevant national guidance on noise limits. In terms of air quality, due to the low volume of traffic compared to existing flows, the impacts are assessed as being negligible and well within public guidance. It is worth highlighting that the applicant's HGV fleet at this site will operate on the latest Euro 6 engines. These are suitable for London's ultra-low emission zone. In terms of site operations, the sand and gravel to be extracted is inherently damp, will be subject to a washing process to remove silt, and the finished products transported off-site in covered vehicles. Notwithstanding this, a dust management and monitoring plan will be in place to ensure activities on site do not give rise to dust. This plan will be documented via the proposed planning condition number 20. To summarise, therefore, the development is fully in accordance with national and local planning policy. A detailed EIA has been undertaken and been subject to a high degree of consultation and scrutiny. All areas are confirmed as being satisfactory. There are no outstanding technical objections from Affinity Water and the Environment Agency. The scheme presented therefore meets the objectives of the Minerals Plan. We recognise that there are some local objections. We would like to say that with the research and investigations we have completed, the mitigation measures developed in consultation with the Environment Agency and Affinity Water, we are confident that these concerns will not materialise. In keeping with the breadth approach on engaging with our neighbours, we would look to establish a local liaison committee very early on and would welcome a planning condition in this respect. Going forward, assuming a positive decision is made today, we would look to submit the schemes required to satisfy pre-commencement planning conditions as soon as possible after a permission is issued. These have already been prepared in draft. Following approval to these and the subsequent completion of highways improvements, we would look to commence production on site during the first half of 2021. I would therefore respectfully ask members to support your planning officers and your previous decision made in 2017 and grant permission for this much needed development. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tracy. Are there any questions for Mr. Tracy? I have James and then Stanley.
Mr. Tracy, thank you for an excellent presentation there. I'm not too sure who the next speaker is, so I'm going to ask my question now because it's to yourself. Planning balance, we see it up here, but what is missing out of that planning balance is safety, public water safety. So my question is, can you guarantee that there will be no contamination of the public water supply?
Yes, I can. The work we have in support of this planning application is necessary. Without the Environment Agency's thumbs up and indeed Affinity Water's thumbs up to this development, it wouldn't be granted planning consent. So we are confident that with the work we have done, there wouldn't be any contamination of the groundwater. Indeed, if there was likely to be a chance of that, we would be progressing the scheme. The credibility of our own company would be affected quite considerably if that was, or there was a chance of that.
Stanley.
Yes. Gosh, guarantee is quite a strong word. I've got one technical question and then a more general question. In the application, it talks about campaigns in terms of the way that the gravel is extracted. And I'm sorry to be stupid, but I'm not an expert in gravel extraction. So I wouldn't mind just an explanation of what that means. It talks about campaigns, another campaign, just for my own education. And then, in terms of the bromate plume and water, clearly it's the lower mineral horizon which is of deepest concern, and the neighbouring quarries, they've only attacked and extracted from the upper mineral horizon. So can we just be told why the lower mineral horizon needs to be excavated? And what happens to the economics of the scheme if, for whatever reason, we do discover in the end that going into the lower mineral horizon disturbs the bromate or bromide and work has to be stopped? I wonder if we have an answer to that, please.
Thank you. First of all, the reference to campaign is extracting the sand and gravel and stocking it in a location close to the processing plant in terms of a campaign to produce a stockpile of extracted mineral ready for processing. This is in comparison to a drip feed of mineral being extracted and then taken to the processing plant and directly fed into the processing plant. So there's a distinction there between stocking of extracted material and drip feeding the extracted material into the plant.
Thank you.
In terms of the lower mineral horizon, you are right, this is the more sensitive mineral horizon associated with this development. And indeed, Cemex were interested in working this site in addition to ourselves, including the lower mineral horizon. But both ourselves and Cemex were confident with the right amount of investigative work, with the right approach on quarry design, that the lower mineral horizon could be safely worked without compromising the bromate plume. But significantly, the application site sits outside of the bromate plume. And fundamentally, we're not proposing dewatering the lower mineral horizon. And therefore, we won't be drawing in the bromate plume into the application site. These are the methods of working that we agreed with the Environment Agency alongside other detail, and therefore the bromate plume will not be compromised as a consequence of the development.
What happens though if that turns out to be a false assumption for whatever reason going forward? It's discovered that actually it is recompromised and you therefore have to stop work in the low mineral horizon. What would that do for the economics of the project?
Well, firstly, in terms of the schemes agreed, if the, notwithstanding the assurances I've been giving you, should bromate be encountered within the development site, we have agreed procedures as part of the groundwater management plan that we would stop working and investigate why that was to occur. In terms of the economics of the development, that's not really a planning issue. The planning application that's before you is for the whole scheme, not parts of the scheme, or can you approve 7 out of 10 of it. So the whole scheme is before you. And I'm not really in a position to be able to say what is economic and what is viable at this stage.
Thank you for your presentation today. My question is that you said that extraction will start, if you have permission, in 2021. That's sort of 18 months time. Would these boreholes be checked during this time, or any new boreholes made to check the plume? Because this plume could move within your extraction site within those 18 months, 2-year period before you start. So is that up to yourselves, or is it up to the EA to continue checking up to 2021?
Thank you. We've been checking the boreholes in the area since around 2012. We've got 6 years of data already, so we're quite confident in terms of the location of the plume and how it acts. We would continue and have been continuing to monitor the boreholes in the area up to 2021 and beyond. And we would, in addition, install additional monitoring boreholes under the actual planning consent and schemes agreed with the Environment Agency, and monitor those throughout the life of the development.
Thank you.
I have one question myself, Mr. Tracy. You mentioned the deed agreement in relation to trust, and you said that was ready for signature. Could you explain what you mean by that? Does that mean all the text is now agreed and it's just a matter of getting people around the table to sign it? Or what process remains in order to complete that signing?
Yes, certainly. The previous planning application that was approved in 2017 was subject to a Section 106 being agreed and variation. The wording in that agreement never got to a position of being agreed, and hence that's why we're back to the committee today to because that approval was granted on a 12-month basis. However, as of today, the wording in the section 106 is all agreed by the signatories to it. So, subject to the committee approving this application, that section 106 can progress straight away to being signed and completed.
My name is Peter Rowland. I have a degree in geology, a master's degree in hydrogeology, and over 38 years of experience in contaminant hydrogeology. I'm employed by SR Consulting, which is an international consultancy, over 1,000 staff worldwide. And I've been project manager for the Brett Aggregates HATFIELD Quarry for the last, well, since its conception in 2010. So I've got a long history with it. Today, I want to briefly describe the site in terms of the geology, the hydrogeology, the bromate plume, and how risk will be managed during development of the site. Could I ask that there's a slide, well, there's a drawing in your pack, drawing 2, which would be useful, and I think Che might have access to that, I'm not sure, but it would be a useful one for the screen.
Well, that's in the pack, it's
that one. Drawing 2. It would have been sent to you this morning, I believe. Yeah, that looks like it. Yeah. Okay. So like I said, geology, hydro, bromate plume, and how risk is going to be managed. Now, our data as been said, has come from 6 or 7 years of monitoring, and this plan shows essentially all the monitoring wells that are on site. The orange square, or the orange circles, and then there's some red ones as well. But the orange ones in particular, okay, so all these dots here are monitoring wells, and obviously the green here is the plume of bromate. Now this plan is from January 19, sorry. So it's the most recent data that everybody has had. Our interpretation of this site, though, has been derived from desk studies, significant site investigations, which you can see from all the borals that are on the site, pumping tests, presentations to and discussions with the Environment Agency and Affinity. Now, you've seen a slide before, actually, that shows the two zones, if you like, the upper sand and gravel and the lower sand and gravel, and it's separated by a horizon of clay called the interburden. On this side, groundwater flows under the ground, okay, and groundwater flows in this general direction. So this is why the plume is in this orientation, takes this orientation. It originates at Sandridge, as has been said before, and it stretches northwest, southeast in the direction of flow. Now the bromate plume is present in the chalk. So if you remember, you have the lower mineral horizon and it sits on the chalk. The plume is present in the chalk because as you get up towards Sandridge, the site sits on the chalk, and then down the valley, down in this direction, I should say, the mineral touches the chalk and the plume covers both zones, so it's in both zones. We interpret the edge of the plume. This is essentially the zero line, and this is based on non-detects. Now this is January 2019. In this well, all of the wells, to be honest with you, on the site here had no bromate in them. And this was in each other. Now this changes things, certainly on the edge of the plume, you get a little bit of movement, and so sometimes you'll see a detection. This one here, which is 104, is where we see the plume sometimes, and marks the edge of the plume. It's outside of the mineral extraction area. So, although the brome, what I want to say is this is a real boundary. This is where the bromate extends to. Over here, we have other wells, and we don't have detection. There have been 3 detections in these wells out of 18 to 20 samples taken. So that, what we're saying is not representative of the plume. These are essentially detections that come, and they go for months and months and months. We sample these wells also every quarter, so 4 samples a year. Now, the plume has been fundamentally static. It hasn't really changed since all our monitoring began in 2013. Now, this is in response to affinities over here somewhere, which pulls the plume in this direction. So they are controlling, they are maintaining the plume in its current position. Bromide. Now, bromide is more widespread, generally, in the area, and the agency, in its letter of the 30th of August, stated that in terms of mineral extraction, it is only concerned with bromide when it coexists with bromate. We don't really have bromate in this area, so it's of less significance. And that's an important point. ERA represents the concerned residents and believe aggregate working will cause the plume to migrate and spread beneath the mineral extraction site and beyond, which will result in aquifer derogation and threaten water sources hydraulically downgrading from the site. They state this will occur due to dewatering. In response, REP does not promote dewatering below mineral, and has described its methodology in detail in the Water Management and Mineral Extraction Plan. The principles behind the approach, I want to go through these because this essentially explains how the site will be operated and why we then think the risk is certainly manageable. No dewatering. We've got no desire to pump groundwater from the lower mineral, and the operating approach has been designed to avoid it. For example, there will be no, if you remember the phase drawing, have you got phases? One of the slides in the previous, anyway. It was in the first, there you go. A and B, there's A, there's B there, 2 lagoons there. A and B will not require, in order to work those zones, will not require groundwater pumping at all. Nothing. Because the lower mineral horizon is what we call unsaturated, and the purpose of pumping is to simply lower the groundwater level to a point where the interburden can be excavated. The critical water level is that the water level in the lower mineral doesn't rise above the top of the interburden. It is below the top of the interburden, seasonally, and that's what we've been reported here. Hence, for 8 years, there will be absolutely no pumping. In later phases, REP will avoid pumping by carrying out the extraction of the lower mineral horizon when groundwater levels are low. This is a reference actually to the campaign question earlier. The water level changes by 2 meters a year. It goes up and down. When it's low, the lower mineral can be excavated in many of the other phases. So if the excavation takes place during that period of time, then we don't need to pump water. In the final stages, and it really is sort of here, we may require this facility. We want to have the option to locally lower the water table. We're talking 1 or so meters. This is not dewatering. This is simply lowering the pressure head to a point where we can excavate through the interburden and into the sandy ground. If pumping occurs, and this is for short periods of time, it will be done in cells within each of these phases that are around 30 by 100 metres inside. These cells will then be filled with clay derived from the side from the overburden and the interburden. So that will be placed back in, and the next cell will be constructed. Pumped water is going to be discharged into the lagoons, here and here, if we need to. By injecting here, if you remember the previous slide, the plume is over, the heart of the plume is over here. This injection here will create a hydraulic mound. This will act as a barrier to plume migration from the side. So if you've got injection here, essentially you create a mound in the water table, and this essentially holds that plume back. However, that is not to say that when you do pump, well, we're not going to be pumping in this area anyway, we're going to be, if it does happen, it's going to be over here, and in that instance, what you will find is that the no movement of the plume will move to the side, just doesn't happen.
Mr. Rowland,
Yeah.
we've got 10 minutes and a half.
Really?
But maybe some questions from members of the committee. Chairman,
Thank you. So, an interesting presentation. It's pity you haven't got longer because it's quite salient. Listen, I'm not an expert in any of this, not a scientist or anything else. We need to understand a few points, and you can help me because the Environment Agency aren't here yet, or not coming today, which is a real shame. In your experience, not on this specific plume, but can plumes move? Are they fluid? Can they move at all? Or is it totally rigid? That's my first question.
That's the plume, and it's moving. I said that's the plume, and it's moving. It's moving in this direction.
Right.
That's a release occurred at Sandridge, got into the water, groundwater moves. It takes the plume, it takes the contaminants with it.
So the plume is moving.
Correct.
Okay, fine. So my second point is how much do you feel is going to move over the next 30 years? You say you've been monitoring since 2013. I think what I'd like to know is how much it could possibly move, and can it change?
I said earlier, it's static. It hasn't changed this level of concentration for the entire period of monitoring. There's some small fluctuations, but essentially it is static, and it is being captured by the affinity group model.
I understand that, but is it, with your knowledge, is it possible over the next 30 years to move again?
Change direction.
And yes, change direction or move.
Well, if some, it's unlikely, isn't it? I mean, we have a static situation here that is saying it's in this current position.
It's been static for 6 years. I'm asking your knowledge, you're experts on these things.
Well, what causes plumes to move is abstraction of groundwater. Okay? So if affinity were to put another well here, or they would put another well to the north, then it could cause the plume to move in that direction.
I think I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Mr. Tracy, and it's difficult. So what guarantees can you give that there will be no water, no leakage into the public water supply?
Leakage into the supply, that's... I'm not sure I can answer that question, to be honest with you. It's not leakage into the water supply. That is the job of affinity, to control the water supply that is distributed. Yes.
Okay. Sorry, one more and then I'll finish. Thank you very much. And that is the percentage of risk there. If I asked you what is the percentage of risk that there could be some contamination getting into is it in a sort of a 1 to 100 range? If I asked you that, what would you feel as a percentage of risk? Because that's what we've got to judge.
I won't give you a number, I just say it's a low risk. There is a low risk of, what we're talking about is the flume moving, spreading across this site. The risk of that is low. Because, well, as I've described, we are not going to be pumping the water, and it's the pumping of the water that causes it. So once the clay is placed back into the lower zone, then it's also a barrier.
Yeah, thank you. That was really my question as well. This concern really with this the plume. But I don't think we've got a distinct answer there. One minute you say it's static, and another time you say
No, I didn't say that it moved. No,
because
I'm
you
saying
say it's moving towards the east. Okay?
Correct.
Towards the affinity water well.
Correct.
So that well, is that extracting drinking water, let's say? Or is that a well, because the way you indicated it off the drawing, but that seemed to be within the blue. So is that well, I don't know, is it in there to extract the pollution? I don't know.
Correct.
It is.
Well, it's an old water supply that
So that
is turned into a scavenging pond.
So that would drag it towards, that would drag the blue towards the well.
Correct.
So in fact it's moving. Or it's reducing.
It is pumping water, it is pulling the flume towards that point, the water is then treated and discharged. So it is, it's not shown, the well is sort of, well, the bus is over here.
So would you say then there is no risk then of that plume heading south?
Not through the sun.
Sun.
Not through the sun. Because the extraction wall over there is pulling it towards that one.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we've had many discussions with Affinity on this topic.
Yeah.
And they are satisfied that there are precautions in place, that the model is correct, and that there are precautions later on that will flag up any issues that arise.
Okay.
Thank you. My question too is about the impact that possible extraction would have on the water supply. And the data that we've been looking at on drawing number 2 that's been collected, of course, has been pre-mining. And I just wondered, is there any other examples, nationally, internationally, where mining and mineral extraction has taken place so close to a bromate plume like this? And what's the lessons to be learned from that?
In my experience, I just can't answer that question. I don't think. I mean, there must be some. You're asking a question that can't be answered, to be honest with you, because what I want to come back to is that the site is not going to be impacted by the bromate. For the reasons that I stated, the pumping will not occur. Certainly not enough to move. Well, it is going to move everything sideways. That will not occur.
Thank you, Chair. Do I take it then to the best of your knowledge that you don't know of any other site that has been excavated under these circumstances?
Not to my knowledge.
Thank you. I think you may have just answered the point I was going to raise by saying that you are guaranteeing that the plume is not going to move sideways, because I think that is the concern. But I'm very disappointed that we don't have the Environment Agency or Affinity Water here, and so we're having to get your say-so, and quite reasonably you are here on behalf of Brent, and you will, I mean, I'm not saying that you're in any way misrepresenting, but I would be much more comfortable if I had representatives of those two organisations. And the question I think that we're all grappling with is that we know that there's a real struggle over water in our area, and we are dependent on the aquifer because of this bromine plume, which is the result of careless industrial operations in Sandridge many years ago. A pumping station at Bishop's Rise has had to be taken out of the water supply system. It is now being used, to use the word it used, to scavenge, but nevertheless it was supplying water. It no longer is. And there was another pumping station, as I read in the papers, which was also taken out. So I suppose a real matter of importance would be, if something went wrong here, are there any other boreholes on which we depend for our water supply, which will be put at risk, even if it doesn't have the plume coming into the extraction area, if the plume somehow changes direction as a result somewhere else, because as you say, it is moving at the moment because of the Bishop's Rise borehole, it is moving from northwest to southeast. But what happens if it kinks? So I'm totally inexpert here, and I'm very irritated not to have someone from Affinity or the Environment Agency to help us.
All plumes move with groundwater flow, and that is in a natural direction this way. Affinity's well has to be down the gradient of the water, so it captures it. There's no real reason, there isn't, for a big switch in the direction of the plume. Wouldn't occur.
Thank you. I just want to satisfy myself on this. I'm not an expert in geology, but I have done a lot of work with foundations and hard foundations of depth. When you excavate for the quarry, you said you won't be pumping water or not, but you will be taking out a lot of material.
Right.
In taking out the material, there must be some lightening of the load on the subsoil. Is it possible that the porosity of the subsoil therefore could increase, which would then become a more attractive course for the plume, so that just by lightening the load on the subsoil, the plume could swing south into the area of the quarry?
As the mineral is extracted, this is a permeable aquifer. It's a lake on chalk. It's extremely permeable, which means there's a lot of water. So the method of excavation here is digging through the aquifer and putting the mineral up. The water is going to be there all the time, so there will not be a void. There will be a void in the material that is taken out, but then that gets replaced with the clay, which is less permeable. So essentially, you're in a status quo point there.
Michael, one question.
Thank you. Yeah. This plume started many years ago at Sandwich, this contamination. Has there been any work done on it? Seeing it's flowing away to southeast, has there any work been done on it when to say that the plume is exhausted in the southwest and it's going to move out of the area in time? So is there any time when you think that this plume would not be affected anywhere around Hatfield?
I am unable to really answer that question. I mean, it's been there 20 years or more. On that, it's static, so it's a relatively permanent feature at this point, isn't it?